Welcome to this week's edition of the Sports Curious podcast, the Wednesday Wisdom edition. As you can tell, this is the spookiest podcast we do all year because we're bringing in the Halloween vibes. We are talking about haunted stadiums, all things haunted and spooky sports. And as we tend to do, we dress up in costume. And here joining me is the Taco Man himself, my favorite podcast co-host, co-founder, and brother, Scott. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm almost too scared to be here. Based on the topics we're going to discuss, I feel like I'm already haunted.
Yeah, they are really creepy. I'll be honest. There are some of these that do kind of haunt you afterwards. So show me to this year. Last year you were a serial killer sloth. This year you have brought us something a little more tame.
Maybe
What's your costume?
potentially tame. Last year I was a serial killer sloth. Slaughterhouse, great movie came out. Sadly, I don't think they did Slaughterhouse 2 for this year, so I was forced to pivot quickly. So I have transitioned into a killer taco, as you can tell.
Is it like a t-shirt situation?
It's
like a
onesie little deal.
Onesie dress situation.
Yeah, but it's a killer taco.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, it's beware. A lot of hot sauce on
a
it.
killer taco?
They're versatile. They're tasty, and that's how they get you. I think I just wrote a movie right there.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Killer tacos.
You heard it here.
And I'm a killer taco. What are you this year?
Well, the tiny human. Last year I had my taco hat on with my hot sauce sweatshirt. And this year I said, tiny human, can you please help me find a costume in your costume box? And this was last year's Halloween costume. It's a very realistic triceratops. My head is too big, so the mouth doesn't quite come across. You see? Yeah. But he insisted that the triceratops also wear a lei. So it's a Hawaiian. I'm a Hawaiian triceratops, apparently.
Those were some of the fiercest, as I've come to understand it.
Sharp like pineapples.
Yes.
I was like, you know what? Good enough. Here I am. I tried to be a Paw Patrol character. That didn't work. Apparently, I must have a small head if I can fit in all the kids' hats. So,
that
means I have no brains. Should be aware of that.
Or a small, powerful brain, just like a triceratops.
Like an iPhone. That's right. Well, let's through some of these haunted, spooky sports venues. I guess, why don't you start with the one that freaks you out the most? Let's get it out of the way.
I think I know which one you're going to pick, so I'll leave that one alone. I am going to go Wrigley Field, home to the Chicago Cubs. Very old stadium, lots of spooky things going on there at night. They have, legend has it, security guards say that bullpen phones ring late at night when the ballpark is empty. Very spooky. And they say that it is former Cubs player manager Charlie Grimm calling the bullpen to make pitching changes.
You know where I would not be a security guard? Wrigley Field at night.
Correct. Yes, and when that phone rings, you don't want to pick that up.
No, that would be really creepy.
I wonder if they ever made a pitching change from the afterlife during a game.
Now that would be more interesting.
Like, that's advanced analytics.
Now if he calls in and you're like, wait a minute, who is this? But that's not a terrible idea. You're right. Let's do it.
Maybe he's got some better insight than the managers.
That's a very Scooby-Doo thing, right? Like, there's it's haunted, but it's really the manager trying to chase someone out or get the player's mom calling in that she's haunted, so he can play.
It's a great
Wouldn't put it on.
ruse. Yeah.
Wouldn't put it beyond someone. Have you been at Wrigley before?
I have. I've sat out in the bleachers one time.
Okay, yeah, I went. I didn't sit in the bleachers, but it
was old.
Yeah,
I think they've done it. They've gotten a lot more modern, but it's still.
I just remember the seats being kind of small and like there's not a lot of leg room. But same, like I'm going to use that as my lead into the next one. But that's the experience we had when we went to a Notre Dame game earlier this season. Is there's no space. Like there's no space for your knees and there's no backs on the chairs where we sat. And they're all bleachers, and so you're kneeing the person. There's no room for a back to your chair, first of all. And so you were squished in there. And of course, it's great when it's hot. It just feels real good to be squished in with all your neighbors.
I was kind of stunned to hear that there was no seats with backs on them.
Yeah, I'm sure in the expensive seats there were, but these were just normal human seats.
Yeah,
Not
squished
that
in
they
there.
were cheap, but you know. But the interesting thing is, when we were there for the game, we came across, which is not my spookiest one, but I would certainly did not go in. But came across Washington Hall, which is right in the middle of campus, which is a haunted building on campus at Notre Dame. And that really came the story of, if Notre Dame people know the story of win one for the Gipper. And apparently Gip was out too late one night and was forced to sleep outside, and he later caught pneumonia and died. But he told his coach before he died to tell the team to win one for the Gipper. And so that all happened at Washington Hall, which had some construction work going on. No word if there was a seance or anything in there. But they, yes, Washington Hall, the Gipper, win one for the Gipper. And so that right in the middle of the campus, there you have it. Just like, hey, you want to go get some lunch? Okay, also let's walk by the haunted.
And it's still active, yes?
I don't know if it's a residency. I don't know that it's a
Okay.
residence building anymore. I believe it's still like there were still offices in there. But I also,
Haunted by haunted by Newt Rockney.
yeah, I would need to not have an office. They just moved Newt Rockney. You didn't come to graduation where we did the Rockney tribute, where you go drink whiskey at his grave,
Sadly, I
put a
did not
penny
know.
and put a penny of your graduation date in the glass allegedly on his grave. They just moved his grave from a cemetery somewhere else in South Bend onto campus.
They moved him?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he'll stop haunting people now. He wanted to be on
Yeah,
campus this whole time, and he wasn't.
maybe. Him and the Gipper are going to go ahead and peruse campus. They got it covered.
Yeah.
But the one that freaks me out the most of this one is Nationwide Arena, which is home to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And it was built on the site of the deadliest prison fire in U.S. history, which killed more than 300 prisoners, and people can claim they smell smoke, the sound of men screaming and pacing in their cells, and the sounds of flames burning can be heard typically around the parking garage. That's the one that, like, just, I don't know, that just gives me the heebie-jeebies. They're all heebie-jeebie worthy,
Yes.
but that just
Yeah, I guess they couldn't find any other place to build it, so they had to build it on that deadliest
or
prison fire. Yeah.
it was already vacant
Terrifying.
land.
Yeah. I'm probably not gonna ever go to see the Golden Knights play the Blue Jackets anytime soon.
Maybe in the daytime.
Maybe in the daytime, yes, and I will not be in the parking garage.
No, I'll take an Uber. Solve that problem.
Yeah, that's
Uber, public
well,
transportation. That's what you get people in parking garage for not using public transportation.
there you go.
It
Save
was
the
not very
environment.
green of you, and they're not happy.
Yeah, save the environment.
Now, I'm trying to debate which one we go to now. I guess let's talk a little bit about the Pfister Hotel, because we are in, Major League Baseball playoffs. Pfister Hotel is where the teams typically stay when they play the Brewers, Milwaukee Brewers. Am I right?
Yes, typically that's
And there's quite a few, well, maybe not quite a few. There are like two players who have really publicly, including Mookie Betts from the Dodgers, who notably is like, hell no, I'm not staying in a haunted hotel. I don't blame you, Mookie, and gets himself an Airbnb.
yeah. Every time they play in Milwaukee, he will get his own Airbnb, which typically players will all stay in the same hotel as a team, but he obviously does not want to see any ghosts or spirits while he's in town, so he gets an Airbnb to avoid everything. The Pfister Hotel has a lot going on there, extracurricular activities with ghosts, so it's not ideal for him to play. Airbnb is the way to go.
Now I'm trying to remember, I'm looking at my notes and I don't know if it's in here. Between the Pfister and the Skirvin in Oklahoma City, I've stayed at the Skirvin, didn't know it was haunted when I stayed there. But one of them is a whole story about the owner of the hotel who got a maid pregnant, and she ended up, and then locked her in a room, and then she ended up jumping out of the building. I believe it's the Skirvin.
Mhm.
And so she's seen roaming the halls, but teams, it's right next to the arena where the Oklahoma City Thunder play. And so it's a great option. Well, before they built the Omni behind it, there was like, really, that was the option. And now they have the Omni, which of course I opt for versus the Skirvin, because no way in hell am I doing that.
No, we don't need to interact with those things.
Yeah, and if you haven't figured out listening to this that we're both babies when it comes to this kind of stuff. So this is about as terrifying as our lives get. The commercials for scary movies are too much for me. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
keep your commercials for scary movies out of our playoffs.
Yes, right. And please don't show them when children are awake, because there's nothing worse than trying to tell a child why that movie's not real. It's okay. It's not going to come out of your closet while you sleep. We already have sleep problems. All right. There's a lot of
We
concealer
don't need
going on
anything
here.
else.
Yeah, we don't need any help getting there.
And I have a quote from the Pfister Hotel.
Please.
Former Rangers infielder Michael Young documented what happened. He's very spooky. He said he had his door locked. He was in for the night, and then he heard footsteps inside the room, stomping around. And he'd heard stories, obviously, about this going on. So he took the duty to say, hey, make yourself at home, hang out, have a seat, but don't wake me up, okay? And then
Oh my
after that, it
gosh.
stopped. So, Michael Young.
That's no, thank you. And I'm just reading a story earlier about Bryce Harper, who laid out his shirt and pants at the end of before going to sleep. And he woke up and all of his clothes were on the floor. And he's like, he checked to see if the door was latched, but it just looked like it had been upheaved. And all of his clothing had moved around.
Oh, it's not a cleanly ghost.
No.
Messy one of sorts. That's what happened to Myron, I think, every day.
That's what happened. Is your house haunted? That's why you can't keep it clean.
Correct.
Seems logical. Seems like it could be also that you're dressed like a taco.
Neither here nor there.
So we've had some players. I mean, we've had some players that have had some spooky names. Most notably, and I was looking through your notes, Mike Myers. So I worked at the Diamondbacks when Mike Myers played there, and he's the nicest guy. But yes, his name is Mike Myers.
Was he a pitcher?
He was a
I
pitcher. Yep.
believe. Did he come out to the music? I assume at some point.
I would assume so, but I don't totally remember.
Well, he missed a great opportunity there if he didn't.
If he didn't, that escapes my mind, but something tells me he probably did, because I would.
Spooky.
Well, we'll get into everybody, right? That music is just kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Like Spotify has all these Halloween channels now where you can go and listen to Kids Halloween or whatever. But there's one that always plays the Mike Myers, the song, the piano from Halloween, the real creepy one. And like when you hear it, you're like, all right, we can turn this off. It's dark outside. No,
Is it just on loop?
No, it's a bunch of different songs like
Okay.
Ghostbusters and Thriller and some of those,
Yeah.
but then that one comes on too.
Yeah, we don't want to listen to that Spotify playlist at the Pfister Hotel.
No, there would be a dance party. So Mike Myers, who else do you have that has great names?
We have Boo Weekly, golfer.
Okay.
Great nickname for a golfer. Boo.
Is that his nickname or is that his real name?
I assume it's his real name. Why would it not be his real name?
I don't know.
I think it's his nickname. You have a Michael Myers as well, who played in the NFL. One of my favorites is Red Grange from 1920s NFL football player. Was the Galloping Ghost was his nickname.
Oh, I wonder why his name was do you know why his name was a Galloping Ghost?
He galloped like a ghost. Very, very fast.
Seems logical. And he must have been elusive if he's a ghost.
Hard to tackle a ghost.
This is a true statement.
And you
a sports writer gave that to him.
Really?
Yes. But yes, he has ghost-like speed and elusiveness, making him one of the most difficult to catch.
There we go.
See? His real name is Harold. Red was his nickname.
So
but his other nickname was Galloping Ghost. Like he has a lot of AKAs.
It's a man of many hats.
He's like an onion.
A ghost onion.
A ghost onion. What else? Who else do we have?
We have former MLB player Jerry Adair was nicknamed Casper the Friendly Ghost. Not as intimidating as a Galloping Ghost.
Yeah, if it was just Casper the Ghost, but Casper the Friendly Ghost. Not quite Mike Myers music coming out of the bullpen.
No.
Well, so this allegedly has to do with it says it's unknown, but allegedly had something to do with his pale appearance. He had blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skin. So, I mean, doesn't seem real PC anymore, but back in the day, I suppose that worked.
So he's not Casper the tan ghost. It's not the
No,
ghost.
he's not Casper the Baywatch ghost. No, he's not a bronzed beauty, from what I understand. Sorry,
No,
Jerry Adair. They didn't have tanning lotion back then. Probably they just had the like mom talks about, like baby oil and the tinfoil.
that's how you. Yeah, we don't. That's skin cancer, I think.
No, we don't need skin cancer. Why don't you wrap us up? Is there one that we forgot to talk about that might be a good one? Actually, a couple that we could talk about. Do you want to wrap us up with one of your other spooky favorites?
We have one more. We'll go to Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin. They have some new fans coming in with the Pac-12 merging with the Big Ten. There's a few new teams, so potentially new fans going to Camp Randall Stadium. And they probably need to be aware how spooky it is. The site housed more than 1,000 Confederate soldiers way back in the day, obviously. And these soldiers, still to this day, haunt tailgaters and staff and soldiers wearing uniforms, some in slings and some in bandages, hanging out and tailgating.
Well, shout out to our cousin David, who is a freshman at the University of Wisconsin. We did not tell him this ahead of time. Probably should have written him a little note to give him a heads up that this was coming.
Yeah, may have changed his decision to go there.
It's true. His mom probably would have liked that, though.
That's
She was
true.
too big closer.
Yeah,
You don't have as many haunted things when you get the further west, I think, because they're not as old. Maybe.
not as old. Yeah,
I'm going to go with that.
I'm just trying to tailgate.
I mean, like, imagine playing beer pong and looking at me like, is that a Confederate soldier in an arm sling?
And figure if that's just all the beer pong and fireball shots, or if that's a ghost. Very challenging.
Maybe a little bit of both. Maybe a bit of heat
Both.
stroke, depending on the
Yeah.
time of year.
And we don't know if these soldiers make it for the third quarter jump around deal either. There's no.
I mean, that would be game changer.
Yeah, if they could get them in there as well.
Well noted. Columbus, Wisconsin,
Chicago,
Wrigley, Milwaukee, Notre Dame. I see you. Like, we're just these are places we're not going to enjoy it in the evening time.
No, stay out.
This is a good thing we're morning people.
Yes.
Is there anything you want to leave us with before we wrap up this excellent edition of the Halloween podcast?
I think we're good. It's very spooky. It's a great way to talk about sports with your friends during Halloween.
Excellent. What's your favorite candy? Just for a sign off.
Not a candy person. I don't know if I have one.
Got it. Check.
I like to get toothbrushes and apples. That's what I look for.
Well, you're gonna be disappointed they still give out candy.
How about yourself?
I like the holiday Reese's pumpkins, Christmas trees. They're just better.
Do they change? They have like a pumpkin spice one?
Ew, gross. No, I like the just old school. Let's keep it as it is. Allegedly, because they're holiday, they have to they make them more often, or like they don't sit on the shelves as long. So, in theory, that's why they're better. But they also have more peanut butter. So, that's what I have for you for today.
Good to know. Learn something. And if anybody wants to send you pumpkin Reese's, since they go so fast,
Yep.
feel free.
Same. I'll pass my toothbrushes on to you that I receive while trick or treating as a triceratops, a Hawaiian triceratops. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate you. Happy Halloween.